to the worst part, actually the easiest part. Worst part if you don't know how to weld, but the easiest part of this conversion is actually welding and fitting the quarters on there, which is actually not that bad. The wheel welds was the worst part, but I'll walk you through how to size up the quarters, how to get it on the car, and then how to have somebody help you weld it in place if you're like me and can't do your own welding. If you can do the welding also. Let's get to it. All right, I wanted to do a quick warning for everybody. So for this temp cut, just to be playing around with, I cut out where the roof goes to right here, but this backside is super close to where this is at. So that's the actual cut for the old quarter. So if you look at what I cut off, I cut right below that roof lining thinking I was gonna be super good, and I almost am not. Like, it was close. I'm probably like right where I want my test to be so I can notch that down. So if you're gonna cut off a chunk just so you can do some test fitting, make sure when you cut this side, cut that direction, like the direction of the actual cut. So cut like this. So you have a nice chunk left here. Don't do what I did because I was scared when I put this on. I thought I fucked up, but luckily I was lucky. So first, super duper rough test fitting, because you can see ain't nothing in the back. We still got to put the damn trunk back on here, but there's progress. We've got panels on here. You can see the cuts aren't final yet, but got some progress. So gonna put this together. Gonna try to spot weld this up, or not spot weld, but put some set screws in this to set it up and see what all we get.
Meanwhile,
Dad at work. Got us out here flattening out all the work we've done. Using the hammer and dolly to flatten all the areas that got damaged during removing all the welds and removing the panel. So you got to flatten all that out so you get a nice sealing surface for the glass, especially the glass, but you want to also make sure you get a nice area to weld on. So I've already hit this, was bent up pretty bad, but you can see it's nice and flat now. So got to do that all over the place. So I've got another one to hit down here. Where's that one at? There's another one over here somewhere that I needed to hit. Oh, all the way up here. I freaked out. So you see how that's bent? You gotta hit with the hammer and dolly to make that flat. Can't do that with one hand. Yeah, that's what we're working on now. Okay, we got some progress, and some really good progress. So we've got the quarters on the car right now, and I've got the door jamb little hooks or whatever you want to call those in. And the door actually shuts nice and smooth. All that extra noise you're hearing is because there's nothing holding the glass in right now, so the glass is kind of clanging around in there. But the gap up here is really good. When I get the garnish on the quarter window, it'll actually line up with this garnish, which is being replaced, but that will line up really well. This gap here, my finger, you can barely feel a difference. This gap down here, it's right on top of each other, and all the way through here, this gap feels really good. Like, there's no huge like difference between this to this. So I'm really happy with this. Now what I do need to work on is this. The filler gap, there's a gap in there, but that's being caused by the extended quarter, or the extended wheel well is actually hitting on the quarter right around here. So I need to bang that out to get the quarter to sit flush, but I'll do that, and that's not a big issue. What does suck is Z1 had the wrong bracket on their website. So this is A100 as the end of the part number. It's actually A400. So the A400 is the actual GTR one. So I have the A400 on the opposite side, but this one's the A100. So it doesn't actually fit. So that's an issue, but I'll get that all figured out. Now, as far as the tail lights, they line up pretty damn well. And what I think I just figured out is what I need to do is move the trunk itself over just a little bit this way to clean up this gap right here, because you see this gap is actually a little bit bigger than this gap. So if I move it a little bit that way, it'll even that up, and I think I'll live with that. What I was trying to do was actually move the whole tail light in and the whole quarter just that way, just a little bit, but I don't think that's gonna work because there's a little bit extra gap here, but that's even all the way through. So if I move just the tail light, it's gonna tighten up that, and I'd have to move the whole quarter in. So I'm gonna play around with it, and also maybe after I finish getting the this flush, it'll push this in automatically. But if not, I'm just gonna move the trunk over a little bit. But overall, this spacing all the way around here, I'm really happy with. Not so happy with the way the trunk or the bumper lines up, but I'm pretty sure when I tighten that up, I can push that out while I'm tightening and keep that flush there. So I can play around with that. There's a little bit of a gap here, but that's actually from this. So if you watch that real closely, if I pull this up, it comes up. So that's actually because this is not welded, and that's probably what I'm gonna do next is actually when I get everything really aligned, start putting bolts through places to hold it in before my friend gets here and we tack weld places just to see how the alignment sits. But this tail light actually looks a whole lot better. So this gap here is a lot smaller, but if I move the trunk over, it'll open this, open that up, but it will give me a little bit more space here, which feel like this is a little bit too tight. So if I move that over just a little bit that way, it will help get rid of that small of a gap. But I'm gonna play around with it. Maybe I will move the quarters in. We'll see what all happens. But overall, since this is even all the way through, I don't think moving the quarters in is really gonna help me that much on that. But overall, everything's really good. Don't pay any attention to this because I don't have the actual clips on the bumper to pull this out. And you could see these aren't lined up. So that would pull this out a little bit, which would help that bottom part line up to the bottom of the trunk. But right now, I'm not worried about that. And then this has that same issue right there, which isn't that bad, but same thing. I think when I tighten that bolt, if I hold the trunk out a little bit, I can flush this up because the bottom of the tail light's in a good spot, but the bottom of the bumper dips in a little bit. But I think when this is all blue, it won't even be that noticeable. And I've seen that on the back of bumpers on a lot of cars. I'm pretty sure if I go to the Blackwing right now, probably has something similar. So that's not a big issue to me. But all the way through here, since I have the right bracket, this all feels really good. It could come out just a little bit more right here, but I don't even have a clip in there, as you can see. So when I put the clip in, I can pull that out to get that aligned right there. But that's all good. And then the final thing, this is really good. So alignment of the quarters is actually pretty good all the way around. Now the issue I do have is this B pillar. So my dad cut this while I was working. I am 97% sure I put the tape up here to leave a whole bunch of meat like you see on this. So this C pillar, I got a whole bunch of meat I got to cut out of, or not cut out of here, but grind out of there. So I left a whole bunch of meat there so I can just grind it down slowly, keep testing and see how that fits. Sadly, when I left him to go work, he was like, well, we're gonna have to do 2 cuts if you leave that much meat. I was like, no, we're gonna do 1 cut, a whole bunch of extra meat, and we're gonna grind down slowly. It's gonna take some time, but I was happy with that. Came down here, and this is what I was left with. So both sides still need to be cleaned up, and you can see the gap here. So I don't know if my friend can actually weld this, and this doesn't even look like that bad of a gap, but if you look here, that's an extra piece of metal right there on the top one, the gray. So that piece of metal goes away, and that gap is gonna be the same as this gap here. So I don't think he can weld that. If he can weld it, the good thing is the B pillar garnish covers all this up and nobody will ever see it. But then there's this here, which is an even bigger gap. So I don't know if he can even weld that. Now I've got to bend this down. So I'll use a hammer and a dolly, or probably just a hammer because there's not, yep, it's gonna have to be just a hammer, but I'll hammer this down. But if he can't clean that or weld this, then I'm gonna probably have to have him weld that piece that was cut off of here back on here and then try to cut up here a little bit higher. So the good thing is this is not an area that'll be seen. B pillar garnish will cover all of this. So that's good. What I was going for was what we did on this side. So on this side, it's really close. I gotta shave this down just a little bit, but it's really close here and where I have the really close right here. So we shaved this down, but we didn't get to the final shaves. So I wanted that where I could just shave it down and get it perfect, but we'll get it there. It's just gonna take some time. So I'm grinding this down to try to get it down to the normal panel. So if you look, this actually needs to come up just a little bit more. So you see that gap with the panel behind it. So this actually needs to come up just a little bit, but look how much I still have left. So that little mark right there is how much I still got to cut off. So I'm going to be grinding for a while. I've been grinding for a while on this side and it's already there. So, I mean, if I try to push it up while pushing this in, I still can't get that right. But anyways, I want to get rid of that panel on the back and get this up flush there. But the bad thing is this side here still going to need some work. I'm probably gonna have to weld the panel that we cut off back on and cut up here somewhere to try to bridge this gap. We'll see what my friend who welds thinks about welding that section. This section over here is not that bad, but I got to clean up all this boo-boo metal that's on here. So once you clean that up, there's gonna be a big gap across the whole thing, but I don't know how much of a gap he wants. But I'll be grinding on this side for a while, but I wanted to show y'all the other side. So on this side, I did exactly that. You can see the little paint marks where I was showing myself where I need to grind at, and I've got a pretty even grind all the way across. And this actually has to go up a little bit on the backside to fill in this over here, but I want to see what my friend, how big of a gap he wants, but that's pretty good. And then even with that, this is actually actually pushed up when I pushed this back panel up, because had a nasty little gap here, so I cleaned that up and made these two even. When I pushed those two together, this got pushed in, so I got to grind this down a little bit, but I'll do that also when my friend who welds gets here. But if you look at everything, like all the way across here, the lines are good. And then the other positive about getting this up is that now this gap in here is actually really good, and I could still push it in even further if I need to. So I've got a lot more movement in this panel because this is now free. That was stuck before, so I couldn't get that motion. So that's actually really good, because that will help me move the tail lights in that way. Where I had that nasty gap in the tail lights over here, now the tail lights will move in that way with this. So pretty happy with how everything's coming along. And the other great thing is with moving the panel up, all that gap that was here is no longer there. Like, there's a little bit of a gap there, but it's so small that seam sealer will seal all this in and won't have any worry about water getting in there. So continue grinding on this side. It's probably gonna be an hour worth of grinding, but I wanna take it slow and make sure I get it right, because the C-pillar is what everybody sees, and I want this to be as good as possible when we get to welding. Okay, after all of that, we finally got the quarter panels on the car. I think this is gonna be the final fitment. I've got to take them back off to do some adjustments on the outside, but the door opens and closes perfectly fine. As I said, don't worry about all that noise. The little felt thing on there is not holding the window, so that's where that noise is coming from. But it goes in there right. The door's not lifting when I close. These two gaps here are good. The gap all the way through here is really good. So I've got to do some self-tapping screws. I'll show you on the other side to hold the rocker down. So when we get to welding, the rocker is actually flush, and then I can take those self-tapping screws out. But if I push this in, you can see all these holes I've done for the to weld to are nice and flush and actually at the actually at the rocker, which is good. This gap here is really good. So this is actually aligned really well. And then this same thing with this. So I'll have to do some self-tapping screws here and here once the welder gets here, see how he likes these gaps. And then I also have to etch this paint off and then weld through prime this side. Actually, I don't probably need to prime this side since we're welding immediately, but I'm gonna prime it anyways. But I have to weld through prime that side. But what I'm really happy about is this. I had a gap that was a little bit too much here, but now that gap is gone, and you can see the whole circle looks pretty center in that inside of there. So I'm gonna have to seam seal this. So I'll seam seal the backside and then seam seal all through here to make sure that no water gets in here. But I'm happy about how that looks. And what I'm really happy about is what I had is this back issue. Everything back here just wasn't lining up very well. It was good enough. I was gonna run with it, but I actually got this to pull in. So now this gap here is really good. It does get a little bit bigger in the back than it is in the front, but it's like minute. Nobody's really gonna notice that. And then the other thing that I have to work on is I gotta pull the trunk that way just a little bit, because you can see it doesn't line up with the bumper right there, but it's actually really good. Even if I can't pull it over any, nobody's gonna notice this, so I'm not worried about that. But you can see there's a bigger gap here than there is here. So if I could pull the trunk just over just a little bit that way, it would help out with that. But if I can't, I will leave it right where it is, and nobody's really gonna notice that, and I'll be happy with it. The other thing I have to do is pull the trunk down just a smidge to get that to line up. Maybe when I have the weight of the spoiler on there and an actual latch on the trunk, that'll sit. But overall, this alignment in the back is really good. I'm actually happy about all the alignment of the lights. Like, it's pretty flush here, so you can't see like the light sticking out or sticking in. So that's really good. And then here, this alignment here, same thing here. It does get a little tighter as you come up. So it gets a little bit tighter as you get to here, but I'm okay with that. And everything's finger tight, like as far as the lights in the trunk right now. And the bumper, but the bumper is on here. So I do have the right bracket on this side. The other bracket, Z1 did send the wrong bracket. Let me actually show that again. So this bracket, I think, is for a GTT. so it actually sticks out too far, so that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to attach the bumper when I drive to get it painted, because I don't think the bracket's gonna be in. The only place I could find it was overseas, and I needed to get shipped here, and I haven't seen a tracking number yet, so I don't know if I'm gonna have the actual bracket for this side before then. And I called Nissan, I called Z1, neither one of them could actually get it, and that bracket seems to be discontinued, so I'm glad I actually found one. But so everything back here will also be attached properly, unlike the boo-boo stuff that was on here before. So, and then this actually looks really good. I got a bigger gap here than I'd like, but if the welder, you know, if Camden doesn't like this, I could pull the quarter panel up just a little bit and re-grind this down to fill that gap. But I think that'll be fine. From what I read online, 1/4 inch is too much, so this should be fine. But if he thinks this will cause any issues, I can push the quarter panel up just a little bit more to get rid of that. And it, but it would leave a bigger gap than I would like here. But I'm more worried about this than I am that, so I wouldn't care. And then same thing on this side. The gaps here are really good. The gap all the way down the door is really good. And then this gap, or this alignment here, is really good. And the door opens and closes really well. And then this side, well, I guess it didn't make all that noise because this is actually holding the window. But as you can see, I did some self-tapping screws here to hold this flush. So when he welds, this will be held there, so we don't have to like try to figure out how to hold that. So that'll hold this, so all of these weld points will be done. So that's all good. And then, yeah, I'm just happy the way this is coming along. We still do got to figure out what he's going to want to do with this. This gap here just is killing me, but I do have the piece to re-weld onto here. It's somewhere around here. It's in this scrap. There it is. Actually, it's the top piece. So if all else fails and he doesn't like this, we can re-weld this piece on and then cut it further up, and then cut this further up to get this actually a good location. But we'll see what he thinks. Overall, if he can just get this to be welded together, I might just take this boo-boo gap here because nobody's really gonna see it. I guess they would see it actually. No, because it'd be under the trim here, because you can see the screws go through here, so the trim will cover this up. So really, nobody would ever see that. So I might just take this as is because I'm so tired of working on this damn thing that I might take it as is. We'll see what he thinks, but if we can get this area here welded together and you know some welds on here, this is all covered by the B-pillar garnish, and this will be covered by the weatherproof trim. So, and then this will be covered by the little rubber trim. So I don't think anybody will ever see this, but everybody that's watching this video. But I don't want to really re-weld this piece back on and fix it, but we'll see how easy he thinks it is to re-weld this on and fix it. If he says it's easy, we'll do it. If he says it's going to take a lot of time, I'm just going to leave it as is. But overall, a whole lot of progress. I'm happy about this. So here we are. Camden's about to get to welding. What up, Camden?
How's it going?
So we're about to weld the driver's side on. If I said I was scared, I would be lying, because I'm scared. I'm not lying.
You serious?
But we've done checked, and Camden does some great weld work, so we're all together. So we're gonna start with the rockers. He's gonna weld some of that in, and then we're gonna go up to the pillars, and then come all the way back. The last thing we're gonna weld is this dovetail. Man's at it. He's getting it in. So while he's doing that, I'm gonna go over here and pull this one off, just make sure everything back here is ready for him, and we're gonna get this weld done today. After 2 weeks, we're finally here. I've got the quarters welded to the car. So these are actually welded in. I've already grinded this down. I'm gonna let the body man grind this one down and that one so they can actually do that properly, and then, you know, filler it and make it nice and smooth. But the door opens and closes nice. This line is still good. This line is still good, and the gap down the car is really good, so that's good. And I also finally put my gas door on, which actually opens, which is better than what I had before, because my gas door actually wouldn't open all the time. Sometimes I had to try to pry it open, but now it opens nicely. It closes. I don't have the little rubber things in yet. I'm gonna put those in after this gets painted, but that's nice and good. I'm happy with the gap down the car here, so all of these gaps look good. The gap down the tail looks good. And this side actually looks really good now altogether because Camden and I were able to push this in a little bit. So this side actually looks good. What sucks though, is we're actually able to push this in and we pushed it in too far. So now this is too close. So I don't like how close this is, but I'm gonna try to move the trunk around some because you can see even here, it's really close. So if I can move the trunk just a smidge that way and get it off of this light and closer to that light, I will like it all together. So I'm gonna play around with the trunk, but overall, back here, it's all together. It's looking really, really good. And then you look down this side of the car, it's really good. One thing I do gotta figure out is I don't like this gap. So there's a big gap there now, but I think while we were welding, we might have pushed the little ledge that the trunk sits on. So if I move that up, it'll push this up. So I gotta play around with that. But I know it's not the light because the light, this right here lines up perfect and it's lining up perfect up top. So it's not that the light needs to go down, it's that the trunk needs to come up, but the trunk is on this perfectly. So it's gotta be that bracket in there. At least I think it's that bracket, but I'll work with that. So we were able to get some welds down here on the wheel well to hold this on. I've got to still seal all that stuff off back there, but it's coming along. Got to grind down all of the welds. So I'm gonna do that tonight. And then after that, I will get some regular primer and prime all of this just to make sure the metal stays good. But I've got to do that tonight, grind down all of that. But just to finish it off, this side, it closes real good and this sounds good because the window's still halfway up. This line right here is really good, so I don't have to worry about that. And then also this line down here is really good. Gap down the door is good. So overall, this actually lined up really, really well. Took a long time, 2 weeks worth of work, but I mean, look down the side of the car. Once this is painted, this is gonna look legit. So really happy. And Camden was able to fix this without extending it. He actually was able to weld this. Probably weld it to the car now. So getting this off, this quarter off again is be a really, really hard because it's probably welded to this actual structural piece back there, but it's on here. So as I said, I'm gonna let the body man grind this down and then use the filler. But good thing is here, I don't care. B pillar garnish, weather shielding, and then door seal will hide all of that. So I don't really care. It's just this one I really care about. But this was really good before we welded. I can't really feel it now because the welds are there. But once he grinds this down, does the filler, and then paints, this is really gonna be nice. So let me get the grinding, then clean it all up, and then do this primer. All right, this will show the difference in, this is the GTT blue lens. So this is the lens cover. So this piece, so that's the lens cover. So this is the GTT lens cover, which doesn't have much of a bulge on that left-hand side, which you can see here, where there's no gap. You see that gold screw? There's not really a gap over there. This is the GTR lens, which fits on the same light. So you don't have to buy a light. You just need the lens cover, but you can see that gap there. So that gives you that bulge that the GTR needs to fit on the new rear quarters. So that bulge is actually over here. So you see more of a bulge over there, which is hard to see, but you can see it from the back. So bulge, no bulge. Bulge, no bulge. So yeah, you would definitely need the GTR covers. Without them, your headlights or your tail lights are gonna look funky. So I'm definitely gonna get these. Well, she's here, getting painted. It'll be about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that before I see her finished. But a lot of hard work went into this. Dropping it off. I'm gonna get it painted. On to the next. I'm gonna be working on adventures for a while I wait to get Godzuki back, but I'm so excited. I can't wait to get this over with. Just wait for it. Just wait for it.